it's almost getting to be a fashion statement to say that I'm concerned about the health and welfare of women and children in this country. It's like there's a lot of talk going on. I'm just saying it's like a fashion statement, not really to be taken seriously, because we still see, in spite of all the seminars and talks that are going on, their condition is still not very good. So let me ask Dr. Singh what he feels ought to be done, or should we just stop it and go on a different tack, or is there a new angle that we should take? Let me just ask you. What do you think, Doc? Is there too much emphasis on this women only, or is it should be also there, and so should other things?
I'm glad you asked that question, because I think it's very important to consider where healthcare might be lacking. And traditionally in many Indian societies we do have men being the predominant breadwinner, and therefore he will get the bulk of the healthcare outlay, the budget. And
true.
so to some extent women may be neglected in some traditional or rural households, and I think it's very important to
Level
bring
that
up
off,
this,
yeah.
level that off. And children too, for that matter. I think healthcare for children and women are important. Nevertheless, I think we shouldn't run the risk of just getting on the bandwagon and say, women's care, women's rights, women's thing, and so on. We have to look at the whole thing with the right perspective.
Is that why traditionally, now that you mention that, is that why we see that the girl child was always ignored or given less nutritious food, because it was perceived as the man is a breadwinner, he's got to go out and work in the field?
Possibly. I mean, there's no denying the fact that men have always occupied a more exalted position in Indian society, and that's changed obviously, and it's not the same throughout the country. In certain states like Kerala, women have always been held in high esteem, and they've had a little more authority.
And what about the new employment scene? It shifted from working in the fields where you need physical strength or climb coconut trees and stuff, and now you're just sitting in front of a computer, or you're an office worker. So where is the need for special nutrition for one child over the other? So shouldn't cities be just getting rid of that perception even?
No, I think everyone should have access to good health care, whether they're women or men or whatever, So I believe that when that is understood, and when we do have a system in place which provides good health care to everyone, then I think women would automatically be given better care.
But isn't there still a kind of restriction, not restriction, a resentment against having to bring up so many girls? So they're always seen as a burden. I mean, is only because of this dowry thing? Because even where there are no dowry changing hands, they still view a girl child as a damn nuisance. They kill them in many places.
I'm not so sure if it is true anymore that girls are considered, unless you're in a society where, as you say, getting them married and occupation is not really an option. So in some societies where there would be still a problem.
A farming family having sons used to be logical, but now the girls also working in the field. So actually, there's no reason for them to discriminate between a boy and a girl, but it still goes on. I mean, traditionally, is it an Indian phenomenon? You've worked in the UK. Have you seen anything like that out there in foreign countries?
Well, first of all, I have to admit that this is not purely a medical question,
Absolutely.
I suppose. So I can't really claim to be an expert on these, and they're merely my personal opinions. So I believe that women have required some amount of support from societies and organizations in India, particularly in rural society. At the same time, I do believe that sometimes when you form an organization, when you offer services, the services are often garnered by the women who least need it. Like many other services, So I think we need to be on our guards for that. And many women who are actually badly in need of such services probably haven't even heard of such thing. And I think this is something that we need to do with our entire society, educational status.
But do you believe that just lifting the state, not just the status, the health of girls will directly affect the health of the family? Because they always say,
of course,
she's the one who's going to make things better or worse.
Oh yes.
No matter what the father does, he makes money, yes, but
yeah,
the care doesn't come. So shouldn't she, there for that one reason alone, get considerably more attention than she is getting today?
Oh yes, definitely. I think the health of a society pretty much depends on the health of the women.
So with all the years of religious and cultural whatever thing that we carry around saying we are this and that, why hasn't that elementary fact sunk into our people? Is that some...
Well, it is sinking in. I think there is a transformation you can see over the years, and particularly in the southern states you can see the healthcare indices improving, at least partly because of the emphasis we've given on treating women better.
It is happening.
It is happening. I think you can see
the
changes.
You have seen it in your lifetime, we'll say?
Well, I have seen the changes that have happened to children, for instance, and I have seen that happen to women's health, because the time I was doing my postgraduate studies, maybe about 30 years ago, you would see these long queues forming in children's hospitals and women's maternity hospitals, where there's a big proportion of them would have malnutrition, for instance, and you don't find that anymore. And I think a lot of credit would have to be given to our noon meal schemes and so on. I mean, even though it might be coming under a
that's a point, because it's not just medicines and doctors and stuff. It's a whole holistic thing, as they say. So just better nutrition makes for better health, and therefore
definitely,
do you think it'll overall reflect even in the need for medicine if you consistently make sure your kids are well fed, or is disease inevitable? It is going to come.
Well, no, a lot of the diseases which were overcome in the West, in the Western civilized countries, were overcome without medicine. It was due to better hygiene, better standard of living, and prevention of transmission of infective diseases. So most of these were overcome, and now we are left with the non-communicable diseases like cancers and coronary artery disease, hypertension, diabetes, that sort of thing. But the overall improvement, the dramatic improvement in health which we saw in the last century, was mainly due to socio-economic reasons and not entirely due to medical reasons.
That's a different point of health coming from a doctor, where he says it's a socio-economic things rather than better medicine. But I mean, he has a point. It's probably a good mix of both. So when we come back, we'll talk a little more about the same subject.